Hello and welcome to the Versa Creative Podcast. My name is Tony Martinez and I am an SEO specialist at Versa Creative and our podcast host. Versa Creative is an award-winning marketing and advertising agency dedicated to empowering brands with result-driven strategies. The Versa Podcast is our place to have a discussion on the marketing industry, marketing trends, and most importantly, provide our listeners insights from our experts. On today's podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking with my fellow SEO team member and our business listing expert, Tony Joe.
Hello. This is Tony, and I work with Mr. Martinez in the Versa Creative SEO team.
Thank you for being here, Tony. On today's episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about business listings, specifically Google My Business listings, and why you should care about them and what you should do if your information isn't accurate on there. So one of the reasons we wanted to talk about Google My Business listings is because Google Maps is an essential part of anyone's marketing strategy. Google Maps is a common tool for everyone. As we know, everyone uses Google or search engines to find businesses and find what they're looking for. In a recent report from the Business Listing Trust Report, 94% of consumers have used an online directory to find information about a local business within the last 12 months. Because of this, it is fundamental that the information that you have out there as a business owner or someone who's trying to sell a product, you need to make sure that your information is accurate. So because of that, we're going to talk about the best strategy for your Google My Business listing and what you should do if your information isn't out there or if your information is incorrect. So I say Google My Business because, again, we deal with it every day. But for our listeners who might not be familiar with it, Tony, can you tell us more about what Google My Business is? Well, more specifically, what your Google My Business listing is and why you should care about it.
Sure. So I think to break that down, why is GMB good and why is it important? For basic information, you could consider that Google is one of the world's most widely used search engine. And of course, having your business listing on it will clearly benefit you. And of course, that is to say that as long as your listing is optimized correctly. Plus, GMB has Google Maps integration, like T had mentioned earlier on, which makes it easier for, users to find your business information through Google Map and, through their Directions app as well. And again, that is, another app that is used widely, globally as well. GMB listings are shown clearly on the right-hand side of the page when you search for a listing, a name, anything of that sort. And with the business's essential information clearly listed, this helps entice users to connect with your business using the information that is clearly presented to you. A GMB listing that is properly optimized will always help businesses for local SEO rankings as well.
At the beginning of the podcast, Tony, I mentioned the Business Listing Trust Report. Can you tell me more about that and some interesting discoveries that it made? I know a lot of that information is really useful for business owners, especially because, like I said, 94% of consumers are using business listings before they make a purchase.
Correct. So within the team, we always share useful information and articles. We try to study them to make sure that our, understanding and information is most up to date. So few interesting key facts that we want to take, from the listings that we just talked about is that the question that was addressed is, where do consumers most commonly go for local business information? Like Tony had mentioned, Google leads this result by far with an astounding 89%. The second highest platform, that comes in was Facebook at 48%, followed by other well-known search engines and sites. So with that being said, this results, for the research, shows that in the past 12 months, 81% of consumers visited a business that said, online that it was open, but actually, was closed due to pandemic. And then 85% of these, users found incorrect or incomplete information about a business on a business information site, such as Google My Business listings. And 77% of these people also found that they had found conflicting information for the same business on different businesses, from other platforms and listings. So with that being said, you want to understand why this accurate information matters so much. It's because consumers want to find the accurate information when it comes to their intent, whether it will be for information or for a location visit, yada, yada, yada. 63% of the consumers saying that they find incorrect information would actively stop them from choosing their business. All these bits, I guess, goes to show the impact that GMB listings have. And anything, which brings up, information about your business, you just want to make sure that it is, correctly listed.
So let's take a step back, Tony, and let's talk about the type of information that is on your Google My Business listing, or what type of information business owners can include on there and should be including on their Google My Business listing.
Good question. So in essence, you'll just want to remember these three things. It's called NAP, which refers to name, address, and phone number. So Google My Business listing would entail your business name listed correctly. You just want to make sure that, whatever you're listing on here is, uniform throughout other business listings as well. And with the address, you want to make sure that, including your suite or unit number is correctly up to date as well on this. So Google My Business listing will compose of the title, the address as well, and then the phone number of your business. Additional information that you can list on here includes the, business hours. And there's additional factors that you could really use to optimize the listings, which entails, pictures, as well as, reviews from, other sources, along the web. And you can, of course, get direct, reviews from the users who have visited your business or have used your business before. There is a short section that you can put on information about your business to clearly indicate what the business is about. And then if you want to take it up a notch, of course, you can always, add on like your blog posts or any updates or any business relevant information through the posts section as well. The other thing you can do is include the profile sections, which includes of your social media, channels, such as Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So essentially, a Google My Business listing can act as a hub for you to really give information so that, it can give you information about your business through all these little bits of details that you can add on to this.
So now let's talk about a blog that we did on our website recently, specifically aimed at people who find that their business address is wrong on Google Maps. So when it comes to your business listing, a lot of people don't actually own their business listing. Some business listings are kind of auto-generated by visitors, and by Google will notice, the Google car will notice that business is open and update its maps. But the business owner doesn't own it, so they can't adjust the hours, make changes to it, and make sure that the information is accurate. So what's the first step if you find yourself in this situation? Let's say you didn't create your Google My Business listing, but it's out there and maybe the information isn't right.
Sure. So the straightforward answer to this would be for you to claim your business profile on Google. The first thing that you need to do, of course, is log into your Google account. And from there, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the business address is displayed accurately on Google. You want to claim the listing through your profile. In doing so, you have the ability to add your business information to Google Maps and other services, and you can claim your business, through, a couple of steps. The first thing you want to do, as mentioned, you want to log into your account, and then you want to open up the Google Maps on your computer or even your mobile device. And then afterwards, you want to search for, the name of the business, your listing itself. Make sure, you are spelling it out correctly. There are, a lot of businesses that do share similar business names as well. So even though it sounds fundamental, you just want to be really cautious about that. And after you find the listings, you want to click on the business and then click on the section where it says claim this business. And then from there, you can say manage now. And then, from there onwards, it's a, matter of verification. You select the verification option and then follow on, with the steps that is provided on the screen.
Yeah, once you've finished the verification process and you have ownership of that listing, you as the business owner can go in and make the changes you need. So whether that's updating your address, updating your hours, just making sure that the people who see the listing are getting the most up-to-date information and hopefully visiting your business.
Correct. One thing we do need to address though, however, is that not all listings are going to show you the option of claiming this business listing. There is another way you can actually go about this process. So what you want to do is from the list of Google apps on the top right corner, if you're on the computer, you want to select the My Business option. So from there, what you want to do is you want to click the blue button on the right side where it says Add Business. And through this listing, through this process, you can search for the listings. And then in the instance that the business listing has already been claimed or is owned by another email address, you can request for access. And that way you can, add yourself as a user, for the business listing.
Yeah, and that would be applicable to people who find themselves in new developed areas. Correct. Or things where that hasn't been discovered. Mm-hmm. So the listing isn't there already. It's a whole new listing, something that isn't out there. So they wouldn't be claiming it, they'd be creating it.
Correct.
So another issue that a lot of people will face with their Google My Business listing is the pin on the map is incorrectly located. Again, that could be due to human error or the car that passed by picked it up and marked it wrong, something like that. Again, it's a pretty easy fix, but how would you go about doing that, Tony?
Sure. So like Tony had mentioned, this does happen, from time to time. Even with the business address being correct, the physical marking of the map itself on, the maps for the location does come out incorrectly. 85% of consumers, again, like we had mentioned, found incorrect or incomplete information, and it's just something that you want to keep in mind. And, it is a common thing that, the reason why your business might not have an accurate location on Google Maps, like Tony had mentioned, it could be a glitch or it could have been just a small error. And what you want to do is that first and foremost, you want to log in and start by making sure, again, to check that the physical address that you have listed is correct. And after you have verified that, the next step that you can take is to, make sure that the location that appears on the place, however incorrect it may be, you can actually drag, manually the pin or the marker that you see, from the GMB listing, and you can place it onto the correct section or the correct location. For you to do so, you will need to manage it from, again, the Google My Business dashboard after you've logged in, and open the business location you would like to change to. Click the address field, and then you can scroll over to the right side of the window where you will see like a map, with a red pin over to the right side of the location itself. All you need to do is just drag the pin to the correct location, and if you need, you can use the plus or the minus sign on the map itself to zoom in and zoom out, just to make sure that the location that you're going to put the new marker on is as accurate as possible. The last thing you can do after you've done this is that, just want to make sure that, the final details are correct. And for, I guess, this update to get processed, it'll take 2 to 3 business days, roughly.
Yeah, in our experience, this is more common for businesses who are like in shopping strips or in buildings with other businesses where they might just be getting placed randomly. And again, as a business owner, you want to make sure that you're providing the most accurate information to your viewers. So if you're on the left-hand side of a building, you want to make sure that your pin is as close as possible to your actual physical location. Again, just making sure that you're not one of the majority of people, seems like, who might have inaccurate information out there. So if you as the business owner have done everything you can, you've gone into your listing and you just can't seem to fix an issue, what's the next step, Tony? Whatever you do, that address doesn't change, the pin doesn't change. What's the next step?
Yeah, and of course, it can happen. You've tried your best, but for some reason, it just doesn't work. So what you want to do in this instance, I guess, is, report the problem to Google directly. This is considered to be the last step that you can take after you've tried, all these various, different steps. So in order to fix an address, on a desktop, just open up Google Maps and search for your business address. And then on it, you will see the section called Suggest an Edit. Use this to, update the business information accordingly. And from here, you can do the wrong pin location or address and enter the correct address information and click Send to submit, the issue to Google. And then with a new address issue, what you could do is, similarly, open up the Google Maps, click on the menu section, and then at the bottom, you will see a section that says Edit the Map. From there, you want to, choose the option of saying that the wrong pin location or address is selected, and then from there, move on and center the map onto the address that you want to add onto. And from there, just enter the address information and click Send to submit this issue to Google as well.
So now that we know all that, let's say you've gone into your Google My Business profile, you've made the changes that you wanted, and on your end, you're seeing the information correctly. However, when you do it on a third-party computer or your mobile phone or something, the information still isn't correct. What do you do then, Tony?
Sure. So this can happen, even though the instances are, slim to none. In the case that this doesn't get resolved after you've taken all these steps that we've discussed, the best thing you can do is to reach out directly to Google My Business Help Support. And from there, they will help you out, by requesting for additional information, and they should help you, resolve this issue.
Like you said, this is really a last step, something you shouldn't really have to do, but in some cases you might need to. But yeah. Anything else you want to say about Google My Business listings, Tony, or any of this information that our listeners should know?
Yeah, so we've covered a lot about Google My Business listings today. Again, that is the first place that you really want to start with. But apart from GMBs, of course, there are other famous, business listings that are widely used on, various search engines and other websites. Things such as Facebook, Yellow Pages, or even, common ones such as Yelp. You can use those to your advantage as well. But the most important thing, when you're creating these business listings, again, is to make sure that your NAP is correct throughout all different sources. You want to optimize it in the best means possible and keep the information the same, including business information, even with the images that you're going to upload. You just want to make sure that anyone who comes across your business information from a different source will find that the information is same, across all channels, and that way you are making sure that you're not giving any misleading information. And of course, for Google, it does help them recognize that the information is correct, across the board, which will only help you, with your local SEO.
Thank you for listening to episode 3 of the Versa Creative Podcast. I would like to thank Tony Joe for being on today's podcast, and thank you, our listener, for listening to the Versa Creative Podcast. Visit our website for a blog on this subject, or if you have any other questions, please reach out to us at info@versacreative.com. You can ask us any questions you may have about your own Google My Business listing or any other question you have. We'd love to talk about it on the podcast. If you're ready to see results, or if you need a full service marketing agency, please contact us via our website, versacreative.com.